Hello, everyone. My name is Ace,
And I'm Heather.
and this is a Twin Flame Journey. And today we have special guests Danielle and Brian Kane, who are very good friends from New Jersey, and they're here to tell their story about their Twin Flame journey. They've been on it for a long time together. What we're going to be hitting on today, the main tenets to focus on is going to be letting it go to let it flow, the mirror effect, and holding sacred space for one another. But before we get started, if you could hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and share this video to anyone you think that could benefit from hearing Brian and Danielle's story, we'd be so grateful. Also, don't forget to check us out on Telegram at t.me/Army of Energy Chat and our new website, essentialenergetics.com. So Danielle and Brian, let's jump into this. Tell us about you. Tell us about your story, how you got here, what you've been through, and some lessons along the way.
Yeah. Well, first let's tell them that we're from the same town.
Yep.
But we didn't know each other. Well, we went to kindergarten,
Yeah.
but in separate classes, and then didn't see each other again until high school.
I had been shipped off to Catholic school for 8 years while everybody else went.
Yeah. But we identified that we actually did know each other or ran across the same path way
we played
before we
soccer
actually.
at the same fields growing up. Spent a lot of time at the soccer fields growing up.
So you're a recovering Catholic as well?
Yes.
I pray for you, sir. I pray for you.
Done a pretty good job. You know, I put the wall up very early, realizing that something's not right here.
Yeah.
So just jump into the story of you guys separated for 8 years. You came back, you met in high school, and then it's just been off to the races since then.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that story.
Well, I knew when I met Brian, everybody was like, ooh, Brian. Everybody loved Brian because he was like new or someone who had come back. And at that point, I knew I was attracted to him. I'm like, but I was like going to play cool. And I remember when we first hung out for the first time, you know, I was all like, you're being so mature. Brian, they were all playing around and I was really kind of like trying not to be exposed that I actually was attracted to him. But we were really good friends. Like we were like the best of friends. I mean, he could be someone who would always be like a straight shooter, told the truth, like wasn't, playing any games. And we talked all the time. I sent him a postcard when I traveled to Nicaragua.
Yeah.
So I always knew we had a special bond. Why don't you go?
Yeah. I mean, when I went into high school, I remembered everybody from kindergarten. I have this memory thing that kind of sticks in my mind. And I remember their faces, their names. A few people had to like pull out their pictures from back then. They're like, oh yeah, you were in our class. And I was like, yeah. And, but yeah, I mean, Danielle and I, we met, I think,
At the library, the corner of the library.
yeah, I had broken my ankle, freshman soccer. And, we're after a football game or something hanging outside of the library, and her and a couple other people showed up, and we all got my mom's minivan and got dropped off, I think, Jones' house or somewhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe
One of our friends' houses.
Yeah, I went to the friend's house, and it was just just somebody that I'd met who's awesome, great humor and great personality, and I think we just clicked at a friendship level right away. But
we both kind of had interests in other people, which is interesting because one of the people that I dated would have been my karmic relationship had I continued. He would have been someone I would have continued that journey on, like I did with Brian. So it was very interesting. I just figured that out through talking, I think, with you guys.
So why don't you explain a little bit about what the difference between a karmic relationship and, say, a twin flame? Because we feel a lot of people have this idea, am I a twin flame? Am I a twin flame?
Right.
We use that term very loosely. We call it a divine union. We call it, a soulmate. But for us, the twin flame, it's just that next step. It's the one you are supposed to be within this life to walk the path with. So can you explain a little bit the difference between a karmic and twin flame?
Yeah, well, I would say, and I'm fairly new to understanding this myself, but in various sessions that I'm a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner. And in one of my sessions that I was regressed, I went back to high school when I was dealing with someone's quote unquote making a choice, having a choice, because I really didn't feel like in the time of my life in my right about right now, I was struggling with making choices and didn't think I had any. And it clearly showed me that I did. And I had to make a very big choice between this relationship, which would have been the divine relationship, and the karmic relationship. And really what that meant was looking at the grand scheme of things, how we intertwine and how we are getting in our, I guess, divine, feminine, masculine energies and qualities, that relationship would not have ever worked in that way. Meaning we would have never worked on the qualities to work through the hardships. We probably would have really struggled, or one person would have, been living a lie, essentially. I don't think that we would ever really come together and truly be our unique and authentic selves in this life, versus what Brian pulled out so much of me now, realizing the true me, allowing me to be myself and explore all that there is, versus, I guess, the matrix or whatever we want to call it. I would have stuck to indoctrination in that relationship.
Okay.
Is that clear? Does that
Yeah,
help?
no, it was awesome. It was awesome. I'm also wondering, can you take us through that time in your life where you had to make this decision? You're at this crossroads.
Yes.
You can either
Yes, I
hang on
can.
here or let go there.
Yeah.
It feels like for me, with my relationship with her, and in comparison to all my other relationships, it was always like trying to hold on to the other ones. With her, it's honestly about letting go. Again, letting it go to let it flow, one of the tenets, right? So explain how you kind of knew to go with Brian. Like, what did your heart feel like? What did your head say? Things like that.
Well, looking at it now, I think I might have had past lives with that other person, because he's come, because the caring for him, I truly do care for him. Like, there's some level of like, I hope he's well, and I know he's well, but I just know that we're not on the same plane. And Brian also was regressed and said that I came back for him in this lifetime, and I truly believe that. So that is a piece. But so I was dating this other guy. Let's just call him Jay. Okay. Dating Jay.
Bartholomew.
Whatever, letter J, whatever. And kind of dating. And we were getting ready to go to college, actually, all of us. So I wasn't really super, super ready for a relationship. And Brian and I had previously dated, and he broke up with me. And that's a
How dare you, Brian?
Yeah. And didn't
Traumatic
talk.
time.
It was traumatic, and didn't talk to me for like a year. I just wanted to be friends. But Brian didn't want to put me in the friend zone, I guess, later on, discovering that.
Couldn't handle the friend zone.
Yes. So when he saw that I was pursuing this relationship with Jay, Brian
I was like,
slowly worked his way
say the
in.
magic word.
Yeah. And I previously dated Jay too. So I previously dated Jay.
It's their second round.
Second round with Jay. And then Brian was creeping in.
Starting to sound like the Jersey Shore.
And, oh God, sorry. And it's funny, I only dated mostly.
I was creeping in, but she didn't know I was creeping.
It wasn't in until he finally spoke to me. I'm like, whoa.
Just like peeping through the blinds.
And I just wanted to like be, I just wanted closure, really, because I figured, we're going off to college. It is what it is. And then he was like, boom, just right there. And I basically told him a lot of things that he tricked me. He's really good at you exposing and telling the truth on things that I thought he already knew.
Getting people to tell the truth for themselves is one of my goals.
So it's not even goals.
Even if I don't know the truth. So
He's got skills.
I phrase things in a way that people wind up telling me
The truth.
The truth.
Yeah. So anyway, we ended up like kissing, and I was like, oh my God, I'm with Jay. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm like, but I can't believe this just happened, And the first time we dated, it was like,
you're gonna go break up with him, and then you're gonna come with me.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he said. But the first time we got together, we have to tell that story. That's another story. That was crazy. But at this one moment, my heart, there was no other way. It was like, it was destiny. I'm like, I'm supposed to be with him. And
I knew that as well.
And we just knew it. It was like, there was just no other way. I as much as I cared for this other person, this was deeper. This was a deeper intuitive feeling that I had. And the first time we got together, it was like our own personal fireworks were going off. And Brian was actually together with one of my friends, like not really together, but and I was all like scoping the scene, like, do you like this girl? He's like, you know what I think about her? And then he grabbed me and kissed me. And I was like, oh my God, we can't do this here, but I don't want to stop because it was like,
a movie. It's a literal movie.
Dude, we've had a movie. We've had such a ride, and it was such young love, and like we didn't know what we were doing, but we just knew we loved.
Powerful, and I was like,
it was a little too poowpowerful, actually.
This is really overwhelming.
And so you guys have stayed together this whole time.
The only person I've ever said I love.
We've been together. We've had some, and through college, we've had some. He'd come up to me and break up with me. And I'm like, really? Are you sure? Like, I don't think this is supposed to happen.
How did you guys work through your fear of it being so powerful?
Especially so young.
Yeah.
I jumped right in. I
Yeah,
wasn't
she
afraid.
jumped in and I was like,
He was.
Whoa. I had a lot of things that I needed to work out. There was just a lot of trauma in my life, I think, and I had a fear of a relationship, and at the same time had suffered some loss in my family. Like my grandfather had passed away, and I was like very mixed up. So I knew at that point in time, like, I can't really do this 100%, and I don't want to put her through that. But at the same time, even after breaking up with her the first time, it was like, I couldn't even look at her. I was like, I have to, like,
He didn't. He would
I had
literally
changed my route.
he
to the
would
entire
change his
school.
route to completely avoid me. And I'm like, what did I do? Did I do
There's
something
nothing
wrong?
against her at all. It's like, I can't face this right now, and I'm just gonna keep walking my path and go. And if anything comes up of it, I'll face it at that time. But I had very strong feelings, and I was just like, I don't know what to do with all these feelings. So I'd much rather just hide from them. And pardon me, when I saw her reconnect with Jay, I was like, no, this is not happening. Like,
Jay's probably like, I remember
I
you,
can't let
Brian.
that go.
He knew
I
that.
can't let that go
he
that
knew
way,
that
because I know it's gonna come of it.
it
And I
was a
like,
powerful.
no,
It was
I'm
a
not- I'm not
powerful
letting her go.
interception for sure, because I think we both knew. He,
Stolen.
Scoop.
yeah.
So
I never realized at the time how powerful that was, but I think that was a defining moment. Had he had not made that move at that time, I don't know if Brian and I would be where we are.
and so you've been together ever
Sure.
since that
Yeah,
last.
pretty
that
much
last
ever
time?
since.
He just
Yeah.
surrendered.
Couple
You're
little
just
breaks here and there, just because chaos of college.
Well, chaos of college and just like we were young. It was young
Yeah.
love, and I never let go. He never let go. But we had, it was hard. I mean, because here it was a level of commitment, and being apart and still trying to figure out, is this the person I'm supposed to be with, or are there?
And I'm
other-
a very nomad type of person,
Yeah.
like very independent. So I'm okay just being by myself. But I was like, can't be by myself.
Yeah.
yeah, we don't make best decisions when we're by ourselves.
Like, I can be by myself, but she's coming with me.
Yeah, I think we both did. I think we
in
both
different
knew, like,
rooms.
I think at some level we just can't imagine being without each other.
Mhm.
Definitely not.
And I love how, like, when I first asked you to come on and do this interview, you're like, I don't know if we're twin flames, and I don't know if we're this. I'm like, have you guys not met each other? Like, you guys have been together forever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
explain
it's
a
the
little
same
bit. So explain a
22
little bit
years.
about how letting it go and letting it flow through this part of your relationship, especially the beginning, because what I'm trying to do with this interview is I want to listen to your story because you guys are so entertaining and it's an amazing story. On top of that, there are people there going through the different areas that you've already been able to traverse with how long have you guys have been together now?
23 years.
Yeah.
13 married on September 26th this month.
So that's a long time to be in a committed divine union relationship, but also you did it throughout the entire time through the matrix and through the end of the world and all that stuff. So explain how, when you'd come up against, like your own karmic issues, what Heather and I have discovered is, like, the reason a lot of divine flames are in separation right now is because they will not put up with the disrespect of the ego from the other. You two have worked through all of that. How have you been able to receive each other's egos at times? And though you might not like it and though it may hurt, how have you been able to work past that, let it go, to let it flow, and then be able to allow them to grow? That rhymed.
Sure, you can go.
I will say that our egos were the strongest in college. I would see behaviors that were not like Brian. So I would react in a non-Danielle way because of those behaviors. So let's just say before we got married, we got a lot of whatever had to get out then. And then we both had to come to a point where we're like, this isn't acceptable. That's unacceptable. Where are we in this relationship? Are you really ready to be together? Because we shouldn't do this to each other. Someone's going to just want to run off and go off and be, MIA for a while, and basically do whatever they want to do. I think now we need to really understand that let's let it flow. We literally just said, let's let this relationship flow. It doesn't have to be like, you have to call me every 5 minutes, like, because it was, when you're apart in college, the other person's always like trying to check in with the other. And he was really afraid that it was going to be so like, what's the word? Like he was locked in and like there was no breathing room. And I said, let's just let it flow. And that's so funny that you say that now, because that's one of the things I said to him. I said, let's just see how this goes. We don't have to be so crazy. Just check in with me from time to time. So I really feel like we got a lot of that stuff out young. And then we made really big commitments. I mean, I had a lot of struggles because I was in the corporate world. I had to break so many layers of like realities. And he was so compassionate about it. Like he knew I was not happy. I was like, how did you marry me? I was so miserable, like for a long time.
And I spent an extra year in college too. So she was out of school and I was still in school.
And what do you have to say to that? I mean, still to this day, I'm like, how did you marry me when I was so miserable?
Well, I could see through,
Yes.
you know, I've had a lot of experience in my life. And I think a lot of my ego I released myself a lot of my ego in my later years of college, and was able to see deeper into like this connection. And I saw that, you know, Danielle's trying to climb this ladder, and I could kind of see the end of the ladder. And I was like,
Doesn't exist.
You're just going to be
Yeah.
always burning the candle at both ends. And I mean, physically, she was in good health, but at the same time, emotionally and, you know, mentally, she was getting just deranged by this workload that she was driving to Delaware and like always on the go, pretty much, you know, slave to the work life. And I was a personal trainer and had a lot more freedom. But again, it was something that I did. I worked the grind as well. We moved in together. But there's a point in time where I was making, you know, changes in my life because of my background and understanding of physical health and stuff. And I started
Moving in together, we totally changed our nutrition.
Yeah,
I was
started to like
terrible
just throw little nuggets at her, like, hey, maybe Cheez-Its aren't the best food to be eating.
used to love Cheez-Its.
You know, maybe that's why you're getting upset at the stomach.
Mhm.
That compounded with the stress of work life. And yeah, she started making small changes and I was making changes, but I could see that it wasn't going to, her career at that time was not sustainable lifestyle. And I knew that she was either going to burn out or cap out and have to either change or make a change. And she decided to change and make a change.
That's awesome.
And Brian also at this point, like I literally talk about that. I was the investigator of Brian, like from the day that we started dating. I was like, so how are you really feeling? No, but I really
I wasn't one to speak of my emotions very much at all.
He was a very like, he was the, you know, the life of the
I only
party.
answer questions that I'm asked.
But yeah, you had to ask the specific questions. I did. I felt like it was in a QHHT session. I had to ask, like, he's like, I was like, how come you never share? He's like, well, you didn't ask. I'm like, well, sharing is just telling openly.
Sharing's caring, Brian.
He's
Yeah,
like,
sharing is caring.
he's like, I don't do that. You have to ask the specific questions. I'm like, well, this is going to be a rough relationship. So as we started dating and getting closer, like I would totally, I found the key to the lockbox, you know, opened up the chest, and now I got an idea of really what was going on. But when we started living together, I really thought, man, this guy's going to move to Alaska, because there's no way, like, I don't think he's going to want to, you know, have this relationship with me. Not that he had to marry me, but that's where we were going. And, you know, it wasn't until he proposed that, man, it was like, boom, as soon as that proposal was out, it was like, that was another ego lifted. It was amazing. It was like he was able to talk about kids and all this stuff, like anything that he wanted to do with me, he could now talk about. Before it was like, no.
The commitment issues was real strong in the divine masculine. It was big for me for a long time too. And it took her kind of just pulling me deeper into her love, you know, for me to accept it and even allow it.
Yeah.
So you're in the middle of it. You're about to get married, right?
Yeah.
Brian, what made you make that choice? What made you choose her instead of choosing to run from the discomfort? And how has the mirroring effect of seeing yourself in the other helped you to grow and actually expand throughout your marriage?
Yeah, I mean, I was madly in love with her. I couldn't live without her. I knew that. And it was just meant to be. I knew, I was like, she's the one that I can spend. I tested the waters for quite some time. So I was like, I know she's the one that I could spend my life with, and will challenge me and will be honest with me and confront me on issues that are my own, and bring the best out of me. So yeah, my grandfather had left me and my three brothers each a diamond that my mom had on a ring. And yeah, so I was like, it's definitely meant to be that I'm supposed to marry someone, first of all, because there's a diamond waiting for me. And so I took that diamond and I had it made into a ring. And yeah, I just knew that was the right way to go. And she would have killed me if I didn't. So
Although I feel like he is stringing us along to that, like off the grid, which I'm actually more open to some level. I still don't want to be isolated. However, the love for
We'll all be
travel.
there.
Yeah, exactly. We're all going there
We're
anyway.
all going there. It'll be fine.
we'll see
Yeah.
friends there.
But
Yeah.
I've always known, like, he's an explorer. He loves to go out and, I often see him seeing people in the wilderness, like living off the land. And he's like, oh, like you could see, like he wants
Let's
them
do
to live.
it.
Like, he's
Yes.
like, that's my life. That's my life that I'm
Yes.
supposed to be living. He's like, so, I always felt it was a struggle from time to time too, like thinking like, does he really want to be with me, or does he want another life? And even as we have gone through transitions, there's times where he has gone outside of himself a lot. He's always seeking outside to get this divine information or happiness. And I'm like, are you happy with the family that you created? Is this
Absolutely.
the life that you want? And sometimes we just have to get real raw with each other, like, because someone might just be like, well, I'm just having these emotions, and I know this is why I'm doing this for X, Y, and Z.
But to get back to the mirroring, like,
Oh yeah.
I saw in her the things that I have in myself, but like I'll challenge other people all the time. Not very many people challenge me, and she was one to do that. And I was like, I want to have that in my life. I want people to ask me hard questions and ask me the things that I need to vocalize, because I knew that I was all bound up inside, and I knew that she was slowly unwinding that. So I welcomed that into my life for sure.
And it's like you guys leaned into your differences, and you leaned into the frustrating elements about each other. That's the key to these divine unions, if you want them to last, is to get comfortable with the uncomfortable and be okay with having those awkward conversations. Like my buddy says, your happiness is completely contingent on your ability to have awkward conversations with those closest to you, the ones in your business, the ones, your friendships, your romantic relationships. And so
We've gotten really good at that.
yeah, and it's like you guys have a growth mindset. That's been the foundation of our relationship, what has been healing and growth. And it's, you two don't shy away from the hard stuff. And I think that's the biggest lesson to take away, especially from the mirroring effect. If you're getting triggered by your flame, it's probably because there's something inside of you that needs to be released and healed. And so how are you able to leverage one another and that mirroring effect to not push each other away, but to lean in and heal what needed to be healed?
Communication.
Yeah, definitely communication. I mean, and not being afraid to ask questions, not, ask what's going on,
Yeah. We
why is it now, rather than attracting, it's like you feel that push between magnets at times. That type of effect can happen for sure. And recognizing that sensation and recognizing the feelings associated with that sensation, and kind of like walking around to the other side so you can like really make the connection to communicate, because we have a decent sized house, and it's like it would be very possible for me to be at one side of the house and her to be at the other at all times, and be polar opposites. But recognizing that us together makes the household survive and makes it a household is something that I think that just naturally we navigate to.
We've had to become really good communicators because we've been apart. Even though we're tightly together, we've been apart a lot. So when we started our business,
running our business together,
one was always home. We always had to be split because we had partners at the time too, where they had to be split in their relationship because of a child. So we were split. So he would be working the morning shift, I'd be working the evening shift.
passing ships.
And then as things progressed, we had children, and then so on and then so on. So it's like we had to be really good communicators. And we had to keep that relationship loving because we were apart. It's like we were separate, twin flame for a while.
Flames at
Oh,
opposite sides of the candle.
Even though we were living together and working together, and then he started another business. So it's like the more that we put on to ourselves, the further apart we would get. But we still loved each other, but it got tricky. It got rough.
Mhm.
And then just now we're
'Cause
repairing.
I was gone. I was working
He was gone.
16 hours a day or more sometimes. Every
Yeah.
day of the week.
I felt like a
7
widowed.
days a week.
I felt like a widow at times. I did. I really felt
it
like
was bad.
this was not the life and that's what got me into my spiritual awakening, was feeling abandoned and stuck in this life that we created that is now not pleasant.
Mhm.
So much, you guys created such a mirroring effect
Yeah.
that you literally
I started
embodied
trying to try and climb the ladder.
Yep.
And that's what
Yeah,
it's like.
And I was like,
exactly,
come back. And I
yeah.
was like, it's not right. It's not the right time.
And you
Yep.
embodied what you basically created a life situation that embodied what she needed to see in order for her to release these insecurities that could have been from this life or could have been from past lives. But
Yeah.
something you said, something really interesting. You said, when the sensation comes over me, it was about stepping back and like looking around it and observing it from many different perspectives as possible. We don't
That's where
often
the
talk
ego,
about the
I think, comes
sensation.
in.
Yeah, the ego sensation. That's a great new concept that I haven't thought of yet. So talk a little bit about the ego sensation.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
getting chills just thinking about that because I've experienced that many times where it's like, there's a conflict that's about to happen, whether it be between me or anybody else in the world. You can feel the volume turn up, it's like you can feel their energy coming off of them and you're either going to like try to resist it or you're welcoming it or you're trying to recognize where it's coming from. And a lot of times it's not, it may not be you personally, but it's a feeling or an emotion that's been spinning and it's starting to spin out of control. And I think that's something your ego picks up on. And you're either going to go after it or you're going to resist it or you're going to recognize and try to navigate through it.
this is a perfect segue into holding sacred space for the other to grow and heal. Say you feel you're about to have a tiff with her, whether it was in the past or whether it's now. I find learning to argue with one another tactfully, respectfully, in the right ways. You're going to have arguments, you're going to have disagreements. It's not going to be perfect all the time, but it's learning how to do it the right way so that you can have the least amount of fallout, which to us is holding sacred space. So you feel the sensation come over you. You see an ego battle about to happen. Sometimes they're unavoidable. How do you then hold space in that moment for the other to be kind of their lesser self, so to speak? Or how do you create sacred space later on to work through the potential hurt that was created from the event or situation?
For me, it's like taking a step back and recognizing like, where did that feeling start from? Because if you can reframe yourself back to where it originated from, you'll probably have a more clear view of why you are where you are right now. You can kind of see the pathway that brought you to the little frustration here, the argument there, or somebody, knocked something off of a table, spilled their milk. It could be anything that just makes that amplify in that moment. And recognizing either where it came from me or for her, or, taking a step back and saying, let's just talk about this. It doesn't need to be an argument.
Yeah. For me, I knew Brian needed a lot of healing. He put himself through a lot. He
This
did.
is the way you said it, Danielle. I was like, for me,
Yeah,
I knew he was
she's right.
fucked up.
Because my ego would explode.
He was
You know?
not, I mean, when the pandemic happened, he needed a
When I
lot of,
boxed in college, I got a much better handle on my ego.
Yeah.
That was an important step for me.
Yeah.
When it came to anger.
but Brian needed a lot of space. He did. He needed a lot of healing, and I knew it. And so Brian started his journey, and just the people that came across our paths guided him into things that he really enjoys, which is like the sweat lodge that he participates in, and other ceremonies that he participates in. And I really appreciated him doing these things, and I was allowing and taking on the responsibility so he could have that space. And he also jumped in and did a QHHT session, which really did help some past trauma in this life. And it was amazing. And it wasn't even with me. The first one was very powerful. The second one was more helping me, although we explored some pretty cool things. But in the process of holding the space, I think I was holding too much space and not enough for myself. And then I started getting resentful or angry and and that's where Brian was like, where is this coming from? I'm just asking you, can I go to another sweat? And I'm like, then I felt like I'm taking on so much. And it wasn't about him. It was about me not taking the time for myself that he's going to continue his journey and I'm going to support it. But I can't just wait for somebody to do it for me. I got to start doing things for myself. And that's why I appreciate meeting you guys. That's a huge talking and having these conversations. It's like downloads, healing. It's so family. I'm very much more of a relationship healer than an individual healer. That's how we hold space. And then Brian has always been supportive. He sometimes think I'm too foo-foo. I'm out there. He's like, you're out there, Danielle. I'm like, I know, but that's where I am. I'm from the stars. And so just
I
have
recognize like the reality of everything that we talk about. I mean, just recently, I think Nassim Haram, is an astrophysicist and quantum physicist, talks about, on every bit of energy that makes us, there's 10 to the 44th power black holes on the surface. And that volume that he's figured out is an actual almost half replica of the entire universe. So this reality, what is it? And it's just a quantum entanglement of pure energy and love. So
Yeah.
And I
I'd
think
rather
that's the
be
key
a
of
part
this.
and take part of that rather than be a separate part of it and just see it from the outside.
Or just see it as not as a possibility. So many people like to say, no, it can't happen. I'm like, well, how do you know it can't happen? How do you know it can't be a possibility? Why not have the discussion of just being open to it?
All the greatest ideas get kicked out in the beginning.
So it seems like when you two really began moving into spirit as the foundation to your pursuits of life as individuals, and then agreed to that's what your pursuits, whether it was consciously or unconsciously, agreed that this is what our foundation of our relationship is going to be. It's almost like your relationship was able to take off to that next level. It was as if you two were in a karmic relationship together for a while, working through your ego traumas, until Danielle, like you said, you had your awakening. He started having his awakening. He started finding adult friends, which at the beginning of my awakening, I thought I was going to be friendless the rest of my life. I was going to move down to South America and live with the Peruvian tribes as a shaman. I swear I was going to do it. And I know Brian's feeling that. So it's, so it was like, it was either do that, right? Or then, but I met her and it was a choice. Do I continue this path solo alone and potentially not have love the way that I truly desire? Or do I lean in and give this a shot? And now because I leaned in, give this a shot, I'm meeting people like you. I'm meeting people across the world. And my shaman dream is still not even a possibility, but it's a really great potentiality. And so, thank you so much for sharing your stories and your wisdom and your lived experience with us. Heather, do you have anything you want to ask, or you want to kind of add to any insight from the videos we made the last 3 weeks?
I just want to ask how important the sacred space is for you guys.
And how do you hold sacred space for one another when they're not their best selves? And how do you release arguments post-haste?
I've been humbled. I think my dad gave me the advice to pray for your enemies. And so that's something that I do. And it's helped me recognize that, everybody's human and we all make mistakes, and I make them, she makes them, and recognizing that let's not just make a big mistake here and talk it out and communicate, and, be able to listen and hear and not try to think of a response all the time, or, have an answer for something, or try to help somebody through something that they don't want advice on, or, just be there as an ear sometimes.
Yep.
And realize that those are the other person's feelings. Don't let them necessarily affect you. Just figure out how you can work them in together.
Absolutely. There's a saying, it's not you versus me, it's you and me versus the problem. And I love that saying because it's true.
I'd say the same thing. Like
Usually it's just a small gap of communication that gets.
Yeah, Brian would often trigger me by trying to always have a solution for me. I guess that's a male thing to do. Oh, you got to do. Yeah, it definitely. And I'm like, I'm not looking for you to give me the answer. I'm looking for you just to listen.
What do you mean you don't want? the answer or help.
You don't want to fix the problem? What is this?
I just want to explain how you're feeling about this major problem. Oh,
Is this Sex
all
in the
right.
City,
Yeah, we can
Miranda?
talk
Like,
about
what are we
that.
doing here?
And oftentimes when we would get upset, I would need a minute. I would just need a break. I would need a break to I really wanted to figure out, because I'm an empath. That's
Yeah,
something I
stepping
discovered.
back to find the
Yeah.
origin of where this. Sorry, go ahead.
Because I would take on emotions of Brian's. I wouldn't be angry, and I would see that he's angry, and all of a sudden I'm angry. I'm like, why am I angry? What? And then I'd be like, okay, I need to talk to Brian. But if we would talk about a topic that would anger me, then I usually need to step away, because he's got a lot of strength, and the volume is too much sometimes when he gets angry. And I'm like, I can't function
Been
right
a
now.
long time since I
Yeah,
got
you haven't
out.
gone like that. But if
Well-
it gets heated, I can't, I literally go into like a state of like, I can't speak. And it's funny, I just recognized something about my children because of that. But the volume, there's a tone in the anger that literally I become like
crippling.
a mute. It cripples you into like, I can't even continue this conversation. So I usually need to have a little break so I can settle what I'm really truly feeling versus what was just happening. But I appreciate Brian, because he's never wanted to be like, I'm usually the one like, I don't want to talk right now. And Brian's like,
I'm like, we're
okay.
not going anywhere.
Brian's like,
This
he's
is
always
over.
there to be there though. That's the thing. Like, I know Brian, I know at the end of the day, Brian will always be there for me. And I really needed that. And I don't know where down the line I had abandonment, probably in a past life, but it still triggers sometimes this abandonment issue. And, but I know he's always there to comfort me and provide, a loving, hug and
Snuggle space.
yeah. And he just is there and he gets me. So it's great.
Yay. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time and your story. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
We love
love
you.
you.
Brian and Danielle are our absolute favorite people in the entire world. We're eventually gonna like live together somehow. I don't know. I think what we're gonna do is build a tiny house on your property and just be your like cool
Yes.
pool boy and girl. We'll figure it out. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have like the like somehow we're gonna find the
It's out there.
It's out
the
there.
black hole to get us
Yeah.
quickly.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna
Yes.
happen. I think it's gonna happen quick. And because New Earth is here, it's already in our hearts. It's being created in our minds as we keep coming together and talking about this. So many people are looking to improve their lives and not just cope through them anymore. So we're just so grateful that we finally felt the calling to do these videos, to talk about the twin flame journey, to speak about relationships from a standpoint that people can truly apply these lessons and wisdom in a way that will help improve every aspect of their lives with their divine union. And so again, thank you so much, Danielle and Brian, for joining us in this first interview of the twin flame journey. Today, we talked
Yes.
about letting go to let it flow, mirrors, and holding sacred spaces while they told their story of how they came together. I'm sure we're going to have them on for plenty more conversations about this journey and everything else.
Yes.
But do you guys have any plugs? Do you want to plug yourselves with your social media accounts, your website? Take it
Yeah,
off.
we own Evolution Fitness in Barrington, New Jersey. EvolutionFitnessNow.com is
Or
our website.
evofitnow.com.
EvoFitNow.com. Either of those work.
Okay.
And
And I guess my hypnosis I can be found there too. I haven't really advertised there, but it is my personal email. I don't know if we want to put that out, but it's dckane00@gmail.com is how most people are getting in touch with me to get a session.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Do you have anything?
one other word of advice is every single one of these gray hairs was an ego battle.
I just want to say thank
Myself.
you guys for coming on and sharing your story. It was amazing. And if any of you out there want to come on and share your twin flame journey story with us, please get a hold of us at heal.essentialenergetics.com, or as it just,
It's heal@essentialenergetics.com.
yeah.
She does tarot card readings. We do emotional release therapy with our business. We help twin flame couples on their journeys. And again, before you sign off, please hit that like button, share this video with anybody you think could benefit, and smash that subscribe button. And with that, we hope you have a wonderful day, an even better evening, and bless all of you twin flames, whether you're in separation, whether you even know each other, or whether you're together. It's all perfect. Y'all are perfect. And we love you all very much. We'll talk to you again sometime soon. Take care and goodbye.